So I want to take a second to introduce myself. So I'm Ashley Williams, the National Training Director at Organizing Together 2020 and a longtime friend of the pod, as some of you may have heard last week. I want to highlight some of the voices you'll hear tonight. You'll be hearing from Ashley Arnold and Alexis Conavey, our National Training Associates, and also Catherine Shelton, who is our Deputy Organizing Director in Wisconsin. And there are also many, many, many people behind the scenes typing furiously right now to make sure this all works and everyone can join and then it's a good experience. And big thanks to Crooked for handling all the tech stuff. Again, there is a storm rolling in and 3 of the speakers are all in the same city. So who knows what'll happen, but we just ask that you all just go with the flow and roll with the punches and we'll have a good time and we'll make it work. Really quickly, or not quickly, but next I want to make sure to just take a moment and acknowledge the world we're living in right now. So we are obviously still in the midst of an ongoing pandemic that has impacted every aspect of our lives. Some of you may have lost a loved one or lost your job or been impacted in big and small ways. And we're so grateful for you to showing up tonight in spite of that. We also have to acknowledge what has been happening in our cities and communities across the country. Organizing Together 2020 stands in solidarity with both the Black community, who are disproportionately victimized and terrorized across the country, and those who are raising their voices and protesting these brutal injustices. These recent events are heartbreaking, but they are not new. And as progressives, allies, and fellow Americans, we are committed to the difficult work of fixing the short-term and long-term racial inequalities plaguing our country. We know that elections don't solve all the world's problems and that so much of this didn't start on the day Donald Trump was sworn into office, but organizing is one of the paths to create change. Our organizing work needs to complement the movement work and social justice work and healing justice work of a diverse group of people and organizations to really make the type of impact I know we all want to see. And we'll have a special guest joining us towards the end of the call, LaTosha Brown from Black Votes Matter, who will share more with us on the work that she's doing and how we can all do more. Before we dig into the training, I do want to just go over some community agreements to make sure that this is a supportive learning environment for everyone. So number one, let's all support each other. I think all of you are friends of the pod and I want to see that good energy here tonight. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We have folks at all different experience levels with organizing and politics. So go ahead and drop your questions in a chat box throughout the call. And our amazing organizers in your adopted state are going to help answer them. Really important, no trolling or cyberbullying during this call. We're going to respect every single person here and make sure that everyone feels safe to ask questions. And we need to remember that we're all here to make our communities better. And we want to keep it positive. We know it's such an intense time and organizing electoral politics are stressful. And the best way to combat that is by remaining positive and remaining focused. And tonight we're going to stay focused on the learning. So again, if you have any issues during the call, you can email us at vsa@organizing2020.com. Next, we have one more person who wants to say hello before we get started. So I don't think he really needs an introduction, but Tommy Vietor is co-founder of Crooked Media, co-host of Pod Save America, and the host of the foreign policy-focused podcast, Pod Save the World. In his past life, as you see there, he worked for President Obama, including as a White House national security spokesman. He's originally from outside of Boston, but he has adopted the fine state of Wisconsin. So let's all give a welcome to Dog Dad to Luca, Tommy Vietor.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Tommy.
Ashley. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yep, there you go.
Okay,
Yep.
good. All good now? Okay. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley, again, Alexis, Catherine.
I think we can hear you, but you can't hear us.
I can hear you guys. How about now?
Well, Tommy's there. I know y'all.
Uh-oh. Can you guys? All right, I'm just gonna.
Sorry, you go ahead. I think it's Ashley's screen that froze.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna talk. So thank you all for doing this. I hope everybody's safe in the tornado. That's crazy. Fuck you, 2020. Excuse my language. I can't wait to hear from Latasha. She's amazing. So that is really exciting. So look, first of all, I just wanted to say, like, thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart for being here. This has been an awful couple of weeks in a truly awful year. And there are a million things that you guys could be doing tonight. There's a lot of reasons you could have said, you know what, tonight's not the night to do a training, but you chose to be here. And that means a lot. And what I want you guys to understand is that, like, the people on this call and this training are the most important part of this election. It's not the campaign staff. It's not even the candidates. It is the millions of people who have said, enough, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. Like, I have a moral obligation to do my part and to fix this country before it's too late. And, you know, I know this from experience. I saw this kind of energy in our Iowa campaign office in 2007 when Barack Obama organized his way to the nomination. I saw it again in the general election in 2008 and 2012. And then we all saw it again in 2018 when Democrats took back the House. And that happened because of people like you. And I just, you know, like, it's been a very emotional week. And I just think that the people who sign up to march and organize and fight for the future of their country in the midst of a pandemic are heroes. And I want to recognize what you're doing, because, like, as ominous and frightening as this week has been, watching, you know, MAGA Mussolini bludgeon a bunch of peaceful protesters so that he could hold up a Bible for the first time in years. The thing that's made me feel better is people like you and the work that you guys are doing. So we rolled out this Adopt a State program a week ago Monday, and 100,000 people have signed up. More than 32,000 people have signed up to do a training like this. And that is unbelievable and so far above and beyond what we expected that, frankly, it's giving everyone on our team a little bit of anxiety, but I promise we'll get this right. And I want to give a special shout out to anyone that adopted Wisconsin, because that's my state, and that means that you are in fact better than everybody else on the call. But it's just, like, it's so incredible, the energy and the commitment you guys are giving. And so, you know, the last thing I just want to say, because I don't want to go too long, is that I'm sure that there are a bunch of people on this call that are introverts. I'm sure some of you are a little nervous about texting or calling or door knocking a stranger, and that is okay, because you will occasionally have a bad interaction. But I just promise you that that will be so far outweighed by the good ones that it will not matter. And one of my favorite memories from the 2007 campaign in Iowa is a moment like that. So Paul Tooze, who is one of the great minds behind this organization, who was Obama's state director at the time, he believed, like, in his soul, that organizing was the most important job in any campaign, and that no one was too busy or too important to do it. And so to prove that, he would haze us, and he would assign staffers on the organizing team like me to do a call shift or canvassing shift. And one day he made all of the senior staff in Des Moines draw out of the hat and pick a county to go knock doors to on a Saturday morning. And as we picked, it became clear that Paul had only put in counties in the hat that were on the border of the state. So they were as far away from where we lived as possible. So I got one called Worth County, which is basically Minnesota. So I wake up, I drove 2 hours, I got my knock packet from the organizer, I hit the doors, and I was striking out left and right, like nobody was home, people were supporting other candidates. I felt useless. And then I saw this woman on a ride-along mower cutting our grass. And I said to myself, like, why the hell not? She's not on my list, let's just go have a conversation. And I waved her down and she turned off the mower and we talked about Barack Obama for 5 minutes. And at the end of that interaction, she said, sign me up, which in field speak means I got a one, I got a supporter card. And I have never been more proud of my work on a campaign than when I got to hand that card back to the field staffer in charge of that turf. And, like, to this day, that moment and that interaction is one of the most vivid and proudest memories I have of that campaign, which was the most meaningful professional experience of my life. So I feel confident that you guys will not only make a difference, but you will feel so good about the work you are doing and of yourself in the community that you're building, that you will look back and think, I can't believe there was a time when I might not have done this, that I might not have been a part of this effort to take back our country. So thank you again. I'm so excited and proud to be here with you guys. And now I will shut up.
Tommy, way to vamp. It's almost like you're a professional person who talks for a living, because my computer just crashed. So thank you for that. And there is literally a crazy storm, guys. So who knows, 3 of us may not be able to talk, and Tommy will maybe just fill the whole time. We'll see. I want to tell you a little bit more about who we are putting this training on for you tonight. Of course, you probably are familiar with Vote Save America. It's your one-stop shop for all the information and tools you need to participate in 2020. It's a website, an initiative, and a community to help guide you with each step you need to take throughout the year to have the impact you want to have. And next, I want to tell you more about us at Organizing Together 2020. We are a volunteer-driven campaign and coalition of unions, Democratic governors, and progressive groups that are committed to defeating Donald Trump's agenda. And so each of our states have amazing partner organizations, but tonight we want to shout out some of our national partners as well. Some of our partners that you see there include NEA, SEIU, Supermajority, Color of Change, Arena, and Indivisible, just to name a few. And a little bit more about our staff. So remember way back in 2019 when like approximately 7,000 people were running for president? Well, each of those candidates had their own staff, and after their campaign shut down, Organizing Together became a home for them to continue working. And so we now have over 600 members of our team, and many of them come from campaigns for candidates across the political spectrum, ranging from Yang to Harris, from Booker to Warren. These staffers have brought the best practices they learned on those campaigns to our team, and we're so grateful for the collective wisdom that they share with us. So in the past few months, our organizers have recruited and trained thousands of volunteers like you in the battleground states, and those volunteers have already talked to hundreds of thousands of Americans about the issues at stake this year. So no matter who you supported in the primary, we're super excited that you are here with us tonight, organizing together as we head into the general election. And so as Tommy mentioned from his time as an organizer, organizers are the heart of every campaign or movement. And so each week on these calls, we're going to take a couple minutes to meet the organizers in your state. So please, if you hear from the person who's adopted or that you've adopted their state, give them some love in the chat box. And for tech reasons, we were going to stop screen sharing, but why don't we just not do that, because I'm afraid the whole thing is going to break. But I'm so excited for you to meet our organizers. We're going to start with Arizona with Bhavna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bhavna. I'm an organizer in Phoenix, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm organizing because I want to elect leaders who treat all people with dignity, respect, and equity. So shout out to everyone who's adopted Arizona.
Hi, everyone. My name is David. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm an organizer in the Mesa area. And I do this work because I want to help people connect the things that we see on the news that get us angry and frustrated to what we can do in our everyday life to change this country. And that starts with doing things just like this.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a field organizer in Central Florida. I am organizing because the president has set our country back by decades in the last few years, and I want to keep fighting for progress.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley, and I'm also a field organizer here in Central Florida. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm organizing and doing this work to really elevate the voices in my community and create a community of unity instead of division.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zach. I'm a field organizer for Southwest Michigan. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I'm organizing because I believe that Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. And I know that real change comes from organizing. And so we're ready to hit the ground running in Michigan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm also based in Michigan. Go Blue. And I'm organizing to protect and empower the marginalized communities around me for whom politics haven't always worked in the past.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angela. I'm a field organizer in the Triad area of North Carolina. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I became an organizer because I believe that getting folks together who want to see the progression for all groups is the only way to create long-lasting systemic change. So we're here to get things moving in North Carolina.
Hey everybody, my name is Will. I'm organizing in rural northern North Carolina. I'm in this fight because I believe that everyone should have access to affordable and accessible healthcare, and I use he, him, his pronouns.
Hi everyone, my name is Chance. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm organizing in southeastern Pennsylvania, and I'm in this fight to protect workers' rights.
Hi everyone, my name is Melanie. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am also in southeastern Pennsylvania in the Philadelphia region, go Philly, and I am organizing to make sure everyone has access to affordable healthcare.
Hi, my name is Kelly. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an organizer in Southwest Wisconsin, the Madison area. Jump around. I organize because I want to use my privilege for good, and I know that no one has justice until we will all have justice.
Hi, everybody. My name is David. I am an organizer in Southeast Wisconsin. My pronouns are he, him, his. I have a pre-existing condition, and I organize because I believe healthcare is a human right, and we need to fight tooth and nail to save it from the attacks of Donald Trump.
Yes, amen to that. Thank you, organizers. So they're amazing. They will be hanging out in the chat box all night trying to answer your questions. The chat is going extremely fast because there's so many people. So they will try and share some links if you want to sign up for other events and support you along the way throughout tonight's call. Also, someone mentioned that people are asking in the chat box about being able to volunteer. You can volunteer at any age. I've seen kids canvas, obviously in a different time when we were out canvassing. I've seen 7 and 8-year-olds make calls to voters. So even if you're not old enough to vote, you can always volunteer. So next, I am super excited to introduce you to a pivotal member of our team who is also in DC and may also have a blackout at any moment, our National Training Associate who comes to us from the Elizabeth Warren campaign and the fine state of Florida, Alexis Conaway.
Thank you so much, Ashley. I hope you guys can hear me. The storm is rolling through, but I'm so energized to be on this call. So I'm like crossing my fingers that everything is just going to work smoothly. So you guys have sort of adopted a state. You're ready to take action. You say, hey, I'm going to volunteer. 2020 is my moment. What's next? What does that look like? I want us to take a minute and just get a picture of who's on this call. So clearly Zoom is, crashing with all the folks that are on this call. So we're going to take a minute and launch a poll where we want to know what type of political volunteering you've done in the past. So we have 10,000 people on this call and you all have a variety of experiences on campaigns. So take a minute and fill out the poll that's about to come across your screen and just give us an idea of if you've been part of a political campaign before.
And Alexis, my tech is all messed up. Are you able to launch the poll?
No.
No, so whoever is co-host, there we go.
Beautiful. Okay, great. So take a minute, fill out what type of political volunteering have you done in the past? Have you registered voters? Have you made calls to voters? Have you knocked on doors when we were able to sort of knock on doors? Have you recruited other people to be part of a campaign? Did you talk to folks in another state? So did you do Adopt a State previously? Have you helped during Get Out the Vote? Have you written postcards? Take a minute. We're going to get to know each other and see who's on this call. And it looks like you can only pick one, and I'm so sorry about that. Give us some grace with this. But I want to get a picture of who you all are. In a minute, we'll close the poll and share the results. And it might be interesting to see, which one people picked first. Maybe that one's your favorite. And in the chat box, if this is your first time volunteering, let's give those folks who are taking a personal risk to volunteer, let's give them some love in the chat box because it is the moment now to get involved, to have your voice be heard. So can the person who launched the poll end the poll? Or not? let's move on. That's fine. Go with the flow. So I'm seeing a lot of first timers and I am energized by that. This is the moment to get involved. It's going to be an incredibly accessible experience, but I want us to take a minute and actually understand, what do we mean by the term organizing? Let's unpack it. What does this term mean to you? It gets used a ton. We use it in all emails. We use it with any sort of volunteer ask, but what does organizing mean to you? Type it in the chat box so we can sort of see how we're defining it as a group. I love all this first time love. Now is the moment. It just doesn't matter if you have any prior experience. We're so happy you're here. Great, yeah, so building communities, working with other people, it's listening to other people. I'm seeing that in the chat box, working together, collective action, building coalition, teamwork, getting people informed, getting them out, helping everyone's voice be heard. Yeah, I love that. That's so great. It's so wonderful to see how we're all defining organizing together. So as Paul Toos, our senior advisor and person who got a shout out from Tommy earlier, mentioned on the pod last week, organizing is about talking to people. It's about listening to people. So when we're building our power, we want to be identifying volunteers who will become leaders, who will then guide other volunteers in this work. So it is about bringing people in and working together. So organizing is about multiplying our voice, multiplying our power. I like to think about organizing as an invitation to get involved and show up for what matters to you. We need passionate people like you involved in every type of organizing, from presidential campaigns to state legislative campaigns to issue-based campaigns. And that's exactly what this training series is about. So this week and every Thursday in June, we're going to train you on concepts and skills that you'll need to be a volunteer organizer and get you ready for the fall campaign. Today, we're going to go over 4 main concepts: the phases of a campaign, something that we call the volunteer team model. We'll introduce you to relational organizing and then teach you the hard ask. So let's dig into the main phases of a campaign. This is a little bit of insider baseball. There are sort of 3 main phases of a campaign. First is capacity building. So this is on day 1, we're building teams, we're recruiting volunteers, we're identifying leaders. This is the moment where we can say and invite people in to build up our base to then funnel into the second section, which is persuasion. It's voter contact. So during this part, this is when we talk to voters who we believe are undecided or persuadable. This is when we're having conversations about the issues that are impacting their community and tying it to the campaign. Then we funnel all of that good power. So we've built the capacity to be able to talk to voters and persuasion, and then we're gonna get out the vote. So that's GOTV. This is as early as voting begins in a state, and it will funnel all of that growth, all of that movement that you've built into turnout. And it feels like we've been hearing about the 2020 election for years, maybe even our whole lives. But believe it or not, we're still very early in the general election cycle. So Organizing Together 2020 and Vote Save America believe that to defeat Donald Trump and his agenda, that we need to be talking to volunteers and voters earlier than ever. So an important note here about this year with the pandemic, the phases of the campaign will blur together more than you might have previously seen if you volunteered on a campaign before. We'll be organizing to make sure voting happens safely as early as possible. And we'll also have opportunities to persuade folks through the campaign cycle as it develops. But I want to dig into this capacity building phase because that's where we are right now. We're in the phase where we're building our organization to make sure that people can then turn out and start persuading and having conversations with their community members and voters. So in the capacity phase, I want to get a little bit more specific about what we mean. So capacity building is all the things that campaigns do to grow our organization, to grow their organization, to recruit volunteers and engage with more voters. It's about building power now to make an impact when we can. And I want to make a note here. There's millions of people in the United States right now that are frustrated when they turn on the news. My mom sends me a text every day at 6 o'clock when she is watching the news, and she is frustrated. And thousands of those people would volunteer if they were asked to by a trusted source, just like you did. So the hundreds of people that said this is their first time volunteering, they're doing this because someone that they care about asked. The pod asked them to be involved and they showed up. So once people say, yeah, count me in, what does that look like, right? So this is the volunteer team model. So an organizer can't possibly talk to all the people that they need to on their own. They need help. They need lots and lots of help from volunteers, volunteer leaders who build teams in their own communities or in their adopted communities. I want to dig into this picture for a second. This is what an ideal structure looks like for an organizing team, and I'll dig into why it's ideal. So the blue people are organizers like the organizers you heard from earlier, Zach, Will, Roslyn, Angela, all the other people that you just met. They are those blue folks. All of you, the people getting in early, the people who are saying, yes, I don't care that it's June, I need to do something, tell me what to do. You all are sort of those bigger green people. You'll be developing your skills, your organizing practice, and eventually you'll help guide other volunteers around you who will get involved later on. I want to highlight here just how important the role of volunteers are. This work could literally not take place without each and every one of you. And just a note here about the volunteer model. This might look familiar to you if you were sort of, when Tommy was sharing his experience in 2008, if you were like, hey, I was there too. This was sort of pioneered for political campaigns in that campaign, in the 2008 campaign, but it's being developed through decades of organizing theory and research. And we know that to do the work over months and years, that organizing needs to be sustainable. And this model lets folks to take breaks when they need to come back refreshed and full of purpose and energy. It allows us to find a home and a role for more people. But what do volunteers do once they walk in the door? In the capacity building phase, we do a ton of different stuff. Volunteer and volunteer leaders work together through each phase of the campaign to persuade, register, and ultimately get out the vote on election day. This work requires us to be creative and scrappy, flexible, to think of all the different ways that someone is going to get involved, what will call people to action. As a volunteer, you will talk to people that you know, and you'll talk to people that you don't know. But it's your passion and voice that will motivate people to do the hard work through election day. I want to dig into a term you might have heard. I want to see what you guys think relational organizing is. Take a minute, type in the chat box how you would define this term. If you've heard it before, share what you know about it. If not, just take a gut check. Okay, well, if I see the term relational organizing, what do I think that means? And we'll just take a minute and read out some of them. I'm seeing the word networking a lot. I have to read really fast to be able to do this. Networking, organizing with people you know, building connections, contacting, using personal network. I see a lot of question marks. That's just fine. Listening, starting with your closest network, getting the people you know involved, motivating people you know. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, yes. Relational organizing is simple. So it's volunteers and organizers using their own network. So your pre-existing relationships with your friends, your family, your book club, the doctor you've been seeing for 5 years, to affect desired outcome, to call them to show up for their values. So once we adapt, as we adapt to these challenging times, we know that relational organizing will be all the more important to engaging with volunteers and keeping them engaged. Remember that organizing is about listening, it's about trust. So we use our relationships to motivate people to take specific action. You know the values that guide your community best, and you can leverage those to say, I know that this is what you care about. Let's do this, let's start. And relational organizing is about calling people in your life to show up for what they care about. This might happen at different levels. So people could get involved at state legislative level, the city level, national level on a national presidential campaign, for instance. But this is based on what you know that person to be passionate about. That's the power of relational organizing. I want to take a minute here and say that relational organizing does not replace traditional organizing tactics. While data and research show that relational organizing is one of the most powerful tools we have, it doesn't replace the tactics that you may be familiar with, like knocking doors, sending texts, calling voters, that the campaign will do throughout its phases. Relational organizing should work hand in hand with those efforts when you are saying, like, these people are in my phone already. These people are people I'm in chat groups with. They're people who I watch Netflix party with, right? And I can just talk to them and follow up with them on a daily basis. So it's a companion to warm them up for the campaign. And we're adding something to the table. We're not leaving anything on the table. We're making sure that those contacts are moving forward. But who should you target when you're thinking about relational organizing? So instead of spending a ton of time fighting with people on social media, although I'm sure that none of you have ever done that, we want to make smart, tactical decisions. Deciding who to target is super simple. We sent you a worksheet with this, so you should have it in your inbox. So we're going to talk kind of high level about it right now. You should look at sort of that sweet spot in the middle. So people who are in the areas that you are focusing on in your target areas. They're people who care about the issues, and they're people who do not yet know how to volunteer. You can use the same model when you're thinking about who to turn out and identify as voters to persuade later on, but we're in the capacity building phase right now. So who do you know that could be a volunteer? Our greatest resource are our relationships. So let's build on them to persuade and mobilize those volunteers across the country. But now that you've made the connection with the people in your networks, how do you push them towards action? There's one incredibly crucial skill that every organizer must learn to effectively build necessary capacity to have a chance at winning. So whether you're talking to people you know or talking to people you don't know, you'll use the tool of the hard ask to always get to a yes. So I'm going to pass things over to our Deputy Organizing Director from Wisconsin, Catherine, and she's going to take it away.
Thank you so much, Alexis. As she said, I'm Catherine. I'm one of the Deputy Organizing Directors in Wisconsin. Some fun facts about our state. We were actually the first to basically test out voting in a pandemic, the first major election for that. And those of you who have adopted our state will be hearing much more about it in our other events and trainings. But our team has 56 organizers, 75 total staff. I manage 3 of our 7 regional organizing directors, and our organizers are working really hard every day to defend our state. In the course of a day, they do a ton of different things. So and any given day, this is just a small sampling of it, but they could be reaching out to volunteers on social media, planning really creative events that they have in their regions. They're calling voters every weekend to help them vote by mail. And right now they're really working on volunteer teams who can learn to do all of the different things that organizers do. So we, sorry, bear with me one second as my screen freezes. Welcome to technology, guys. So basically what we want to do is grow our capacity. We need to go be connections. You heard Alexis talk about how we talk to people that we know. We also want to talk to people that we don't know. So we're going to go beyond those personal connections and tap into outside networks and find more volunteers. And our goal is to grow by recruiting more and more volunteers who can then go and engage more voters. About building power now to make the most impact that we can later on down the road. And so in order to build that capacity sustainably, we need to understand why people volunteer. So there's a few reasons they do that. They volunteer because they can, right? They have the time to do it. They volunteer because they want to. They really care about certain issues. You heard our organizers talk about what's important to them earlier. But most importantly, they volunteer because someone asked them to do it. Just like you guys were asked to volunteer and come on this Zoom and watch on YouTube by Vote Save America. So in organizing, we call those kind of asks hard asks, but don't be afraid. They are not difficult to do. I will explain. The hard ask isn't a difficult ask. It is a specific, unapologetic, defined ask of a volunteer or voter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hear some examples from Ashley Arnold, and then you guys can go ahead and weigh in the chat box how you feel about those different asks and let us know when you spot the hard ask. So let's go ahead and do example number 1, Ashley.
Okay, perfect. Hello, Tommy. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I'm a volunteer with Beyonce Knowles' campaign for president. I was wondering if you'd be willing to volunteer sometime.
You know, I'm really busy not being allowed to leave my house because of a global pandemic. So can I just double back with you at some point in, an undetermined date?
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ashley. I was laughing. We got so many comments in the chat saying that that was just super weak. So yes, that was a little too wishy-washy. So let's try this next one.
Hi, Tommy. I'm Ashley with Beyonce 2020's campaign. I'm calling to see if you'd be interested in volunteering. We have a phone bank on Sunday. Do you have time to help us?
This Sunday?
Yeah, that's this Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, probably.
All right, as several people said, that is a medium ask, slightly better, still not great. Tommy was a little confused about when exactly this is going to take place. So I think we can do even better than that. So let's move on to our next ask.
Hi, Tommy. My name's Ashley. Thanks for supporting Beyonce for President. We're going to be hosting a phone bank to talk to more voters just like you on Saturday, June the 6th. We'll get started at 6 and we're going to end at 8, and you can actually make calls from your house. Do you think you can join us?
You know, I was going to endorse Solange for president, but this was a really great call. And yes, please count me in.
Awesome. Every call counts. So I will follow up with a text the day before. Is that a good way to remind you?
I strongly prefer text to phone because I was born after World War II.
Me as well. Well, I can't wait to see you there.
Great.
Okay, so that one was much better. She actually got Tommy to agree to volunteer because this one actually incorporated all of the elements of the hard ask. So just note in the chat what you guys see about it. It's a little bit different as I go through and talk about those elements. So first of all, in any kind of hard ask, there is an introduction, right? You're going to use elements of your personal story. Spoiler alert, you'll be talking about that next week. And you will incorporate those elements of your personal story to establish a connection with the person that you're talking to. You want to identify with their values. You're going to talk a little bit about the problem or the work. And then you're going to talk about the urgency. Why is it important now as opposed to, you know, doing it next week? Or why can't I wait until October since it is only June? You want to explain why it's important to take action, even though it's really June. You want to describe what action they're going to take to solve the problem. You're going to want to ask for a specific commitment. That's where the specificity comes in. And then you are going to want to make sure to follow up. So you heard Tommy say that he prefers being followed up by text. So you want to make sure that you follow up in a manner that's going to be good for the volunteer or voter that you're talking to. So we're going to break that down in the ask they just did. So you can see she introduced herself, had a connection, right? They're both supporters of Beyonce Knowles. She described the problem really well, conveyed the urgency, like this event is coming up this week, just in a couple of days, right? So we can't wait to do it. She described the action, made a commitment that the language, can I count on you? Great language to make someone say yes to what you want them to do. And then she did a really great follow-up. So if you have ever tried to get people to volunteer with you, you're probably familiar with all of the different reasons that people give for saying no. So if they're already doing it in the chat, I can see it. But go ahead and share some of the reasons that people say no to getting involved in the chat box. And then it's going so fast, but Ashley, if you're able to read that quickly, can you go ahead and share a few examples that you see?
Yeah, they'll do it another time. They don't want to make calls. They're too nervous. Does their vote matter? They're scared. They'll do it another time. Lots of good reasons.
Yep, absolutely. All reasons I have heard before. So these reasons for saying no, they fall into like 3 different buckets. So there's the not this, which might be one that I'm too shy, I'm too scared, I hate talking to people on the phone. There's the not now, which could be, you know, I'm too busy this weekend. I just can't, I have too much on my plate. And then there's the not ever, and that's the only true no. So people will always, almost always have a reason why they think they can't volunteer. Like you guys suggested, they might be nervous about it. Maybe they don't understand what you're asking them to do, right? Maybe you need to work on your hard ask a little bit and make sure you have some specifics. Or maybe they really want to do it and they just can't make it in the time that you ask. So what you want to do is you always want to make sure that you have backup asks ready. So you want to keep, basically you want to be prepared for the not this and the not now types of asks, and keep going until basically they say yes. You keep making asks of them. So for example, if someone doesn't want to sign up to make a call to voters, maybe you can ask them to come to a texting party, right? We want people to do what they want to do. If they're not free the night of the texting party, you could pull up a list of events from your adopted state, pick out a different date or another action entirely that they're able to join. But basically, people do want to say yes when you ask them to get engaged. So by finding an action and a time that works for them, you're really enabling them to make a difference in their community. And our organizers in Wisconsin, they use the skill of the hard ask all the time, every single day, all of their interactions. So they make asks when they recruit for events. They do it when they're testing out new leaders. And of course, when it's time to get out the vote. So I hope this gave you guys a little peek into the life of an organizer. You're here taking action in early June of an election year. So I hope that you come to see yourselves as volunteer organizers. And we really, really need your help talking to all of these volunteers and voters, people you know and people you don't know, now more than ever.
Thank you, Catherine. That was amazing to hear from someone who is doing the work on the ground with your amazing team of organizers. And we can't wait to hear in a few weeks when we talk about vote by mail, what it was like dealing with the first major election in the era of COVID. I know there is so much learning for all of us there. So as we start to wrap up the training portion, and we are running a little behind on time, so sorry about that, but storms. So as we start to wrap up, we'd love for you to share in the chat box what you're taking away from tonight. So I will pause there as you all think about that and share what you learned, things you're taking away. And just to recap a little bit, so we started by Alexis telling us a little bit about the different phases of a political campaign. She introduced you to the volunteer team model and shared why relational organizing is one of the most powerful tools we have in modern campaigns. And Catherine just taught you about the hard ask. And the comments are just zipping right by. So I think we can see, try and follow along as we go. But I want to talk about next steps. So after tonight, we will make sure that everyone got the worksheet. It did come in an email earlier today, I think around 4:30 Eastern time. They had a worksheet to go along with this training, but we'll send it out again to make sure everyone has it. Don't worry. The video will be available. Don't worry. So in the next week, we want you to use that worksheet and practice your relational organizing skills. So talking to people that you know, and then making hard asks. And remember, those asks are not difficult. They're just clear and specific. And then next week, we're getting into arguably the most popular organizing topic, which is storytelling for organizing. I know it's my favorite. And our guest next week will be Jon Favreau, which we're super excited about. And now we have another special guest who has graciously hopped over from another call she was just on. Latasha Brown is the co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund and the BVM Capacity Building Institute. She's working to eliminate human suffering through her vision of the Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium. Latasha, thank you so much for hopping over. And I just want to make sure we can hear you since we didn't have a chance to sound test. Latasha.
Oh.
Latasha, are you able to hear us? I think she is off mute, but may not be able to hear us. So, Latasha, go ahead now. Can you hear? Are you able to hear us? The tech gods are not in our favor tonight. That's what happens when you break Zoom. So Anna and team, please try and get Latasha off mute. But while we're waiting for that to be fixed, I know you guys have been dropping questions in the Q&A box all night for Tommy. So we will get to those in just a second. And I think I see Latasha hopping on now. Latasha, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a lot going on. It's such a busy time and technology is wild and crazy. So welcome. Thank you. So we just went through some core organizing skills tonight, but we would love to hear about the work that you do and how this group of 10,000 people plus all the folks on YouTube, how we can get involved and what we can do in 2020 and going forward to support your work.
So I am so excited to be here. Can you all hear me? Fantastic. Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. I wanted to start singing because I'm so 10,000 people, get out of here. I'm so excited. But I wanted to sing because I really wanted to talk about what it means to be an organizer. It's not just the skills of the organizers, it's the spirit of the organizers. That part of what we're trying to do is not be transactional. We're trying to be transformative. We have a radical reimagining of America, the America that we deserve, that it will be inclusive and be equitable and just. And in order to make that happen, it's going to take people to do that. We the people, America is supposed to be other people, for the people, and by the people. The government is not outside of us, it is to serve us. But in order for that to happen, we've got to organize. When you organize, that's how you build your power. And so a couple of things that I just want to share with you all just quickly, even as an organizer. One, congratulations. The first step in really signing on to be an organizer. You all, this is how things get changed. Like even in the midst of what we're going through right now, and I know it can be really difficult, but even as we're seeing protests all over this country right now, you know, I can tell you that the actual foundation of this country was created by the biggest, what they call riot at the time. It was called the Boston Tea Party. It was actually people saying, stepping up and saying, we are not going to pay any more darn taxes on tea. And we know it as the Boston Tea Party, and it was the beginning of the American Revolution. I say that because I want you all to stay grounded in the opportunity that we have now, that we can literally take the energy and continue to protest and move forward, but really turn that into power. That even voting isn't about participation, it's about building power. And so one of the things that's a really unique opportunity that you all have as young people, one, you are the generation that you have finally eclipsed. I'm from Generation X and the baby boomers still had us, but you all have eclipsed the baby boomers in numbers, right? The future, but now, this is your moment. And while we're going through all of this right now from COVID-19, I call it like the three things, you know, we're dealing in the midst of the census, we're dealing with COVID-19, and now we're dealing with this horrible incidents around police brutality. This is your moment. I just want you to understand that this isn't just about, we're going to organize and have some activities. This is about, you are called for such a time as this, that you can create the America that we all deserve. And so what I want y'all to do, 3 points that I just kind of want to leave. One, the first thing is I want you to not think of yourselves just as volunteers or just as organizers. I want you to think as a founder, right? You know, there's a lot of time when folks say, well, what did the founders intend? Let's look at and see what the founders intend. Well, the truth of the matter is the founders didn't even intend for me to be in this space right now as a Black woman from the South. The founders didn't even have enough vision to be able to see me in a place of leadership. Yet here I stand, because there were those that had vision that saw something different. And so the same thing for you. If America is to be different, you will help shape to make it be different. And so in that, I want you to see this as an opportunity, that this organizing opportunity, that you carry the spirit and you carry the skills. And it's at the combination of putting your skills, your spirit, your intellect, and bringing your gifts to bear, that's when we can make change. When we work together, we win. And so in that, the second thing that I just kind of want to offer you all is, it is okay to make mistakes. Let me say it again. It is okay to make mistakes. And I raise that because it's not a perfect, it's not a perfect formula. There are things that you will learn as an organizer and skills from people who have been doing this, you know, experience campaign after campaign, but there's also uniqueness and a nuanced way of looking at organizing. And so that's why you got to really be grounded in the moment and be present. that you're getting the information and you got the skills, but you're also having conversation with peers, your peers. But a core function of being an organizer is not being able to tell folks what they need, but to listen. Let me repeat it. The most powerful thing you can do as an organizer is to listen, right? And oftentimes we want to tell people what they need or what they need to do. People know what they need. What is really important is sometimes we just have to remind people. We have to remind people that they have a sense of agency. We have to remind people that this is our country, right? We have to remind people that America does not make America great again. When has America been at its top? It has not. It has not been fully realized yet. But we can actually make America be the America that we all deserve, that can be the great America that we envision, that we have ideas around. And you are part of the shaping of that. So if you remember to listen, and also take time to study. So I'm going to ask you all to, in your spare time, take time to read, not just read what's on Twitter and read the articles right now, but it's really important that you're connected to history, the history of organizing, and there's ebbs and flows, that there are going to be valleys, there's going to be high points. There's sometimes you're going to call people, you'll get just what you need. There's sometimes you're going to call people, they're going to hang up on you, right? And so you've got to be committed to know that mighty rivers are filled drop by drop, that as we continue to do our work, we will change this country. The last and the final point that I want to make is pay attention of what is happening around us. That ultimately, what has made me, has warmed my heart, that I am so incredibly hopeful for right now. I am looking at protests. There were protests, uprisings, I call them, in all 50 states in this country. And what I saw white children, young folk, and Black young folk, and Latinx, and Asian and Native American. This is one of the most multicultural, multi-generational. You all are teaching us how to do this thing. And so I just want you all to stand in that space, stand in your power, resist, do not retreat. Resist, do not retreat. And what does that mean? Bring your love, bring your gifting, and bring your power to the process. So as you organize, I will say this will be my last point around a lesson for organizing, and certainly we can talk later, but our last a point around organizing, you cannot lead the people if you don't love the people. Listen to what I'm saying. If you don't love the people, you cannot lead the people. And so part of what we have to really recognize, it's important that we love each other, but we also got to do a little work so that we can really learn how to love each other. And part of that is going to require listening. Part of that is going to require us learning. Part of that is going to require us being humble. That part of being a leader is literally being able to follow. I can't tell you all, as an organizer, my first job, you know what it was? I was the girl that was responsible for picking up the chicken boxes so that I would take it around the polls on election day, right? And I would sit and I was under elders and people who had been doing this work. And in my service of them, they poured a lot into me. So I just want to say that part of it is not just about the leadership of being up front. It's about serving, giving yourself some grace and space to make mistakes, be relentless, and continue to push forward. Because in fact, you all are giving me life. What I'm seeing, these beautiful pictures of all around this country, that's the America that I want to see. That's the America that we deserve. It is our America. And so I just want to offer that to you. You can find out more information about Black Voters Matter. Of course, I'm hoping that some of you all will volunteer with us because we're working in 11 states. And we are taking care of business. We believe that we have power and we are going to win. And when we tap into that power and remind people of their power, we are unstoppable. And so in that process, but it requires us doing work. And sometimes the word is that work is not sexy. Sometimes it's boring things that we don't want to do. Sometimes it's things that like we're scared or we feeling dejected, but part of it is literally standing in the space of power so that we're not transactional, but that we are transformative. So you all can follow what we're doing. Go on to Black Voters Matter Fund, our website, our Facebook page. I usually try to post, so follow me on Twitter. I try to be active. I just got told the other day that I do not know what I'm doing on Instagram. So if somebody out here want to teach me how to use Instagram, please, I'm open. But follow me on Twitter at Ms. MS Latasha Brown. And I usually post some of the things that we're doing, a lot of the work that we're connected to, and Black Voters Matter. Thank you all. I am so grateful. You all do not know how hype y'all got me about seeing so many numbers that are on YouTube. You all are the power. If America is to become at its greatness, it will be because of you. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to working with y'all. We got work to do, y'all. We got work to do. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, Latasha. That was unbelievable. I think everyone is now going to become an organizer and a volunteer leader and join Black Votes Matter. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know there's so much going on. That was incredible. Thank you. We appreciate you so much. So folks, we are a little over time, I think, due to the fact that we truly broke Zoom. I think all of us at one point or another have gotten kicked out. So we want to get in a few questions with Tommy, so we will go a little over time. But going forward, now that you've met us and you know who we are, we know how things will work. So we'll just jump right into the training next week. And hopefully there will not be a thunder and lightning storm. So I want to pass it over to Ashley Arnold, who is a big Pod Save the World fan, and she's going to ask some of your top burning questions for Tommy right now.
Perfect. First, I have to say, Latasha, I volunteer to teach you Instagram. I will do it.
I'm so open.
Perfect. So we got some really great questions. So great job, you guys. I want to start with this one. It's like close to me, reminds me of being on the campaign. For Warren, what advice do you have, Tommy, for first-time organizers?
Can I just say that, holy shit, Latasha, I want to go like run through a brick wall right now. We got to clip and share that. I want to listen to that speech every day because that was just unbelievable. My advice for organizers, be comfortable being a little uncomfortable. You're going to be talking to new people. You're going to be experiencing new things. You're going to be talking about issues that you are learning about in real time. That's okay. Politics is not linear. It's not perfect. It's about making mistakes and doing the best you can in a human endeavor. So like, just wrap your arms around the discomfort, love it, and just realize that like, it is so rewarding on the back end.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. Another great one that we had was, do you think the average person can actually be effective as an organizer from home? I'm a teacher and teaching virtually is really tough on a day-to-day basis. So how can I be effective as an organizer?
I mean, first of all, God bless you for trying to teach and hold the attention of a bunch of children on Zoom. I cannot believe how hard that must be and how heroic that work is and how much of a pain in the ass I would have been if I were your student. So thank you. Yes, the answer is yes. You can be so effective. Like, look, is it weird that we can't really knock doors this election? Sure. Do people always want their door to be knocked? No. All of us are online all the time. We're on our phones. We're on the internet. That's how we're getting information. That's how we're communicating with people. So if you personally know 10 people that live in a swing state and you talk to them and have an interaction with someone they know and they trust and whose opinion they value about this election, you will have an impact. I promise you. And so like it's brick by brick. Like we're gonna build this with slow, deliberate, day-to-day work where piece by piece we just increase our vote total. But look at what the folks in Wisconsin just did. We won an incredibly important Supreme Court race through all digital organizing, all vote by mail, all totally new. It is the key to winning, I think.
That's awesome. Wisconsin, one of our states. And the last question, maybe ending on a happy one, one that doesn't have so much to do with politics, is what is your quarantine recommendation? Like, what are you listening to or watching or reading that you're like, everybody should be consuming this media?
What am I reading? Okay. So look, I got to plug one thing. Listen to our new show, Wind of Change. It's a podcast. You can listen to it all on Spotify right now. If you want to just like escape reality for a while and have a really fun story that will take you into a crazy world of like the CIA and espionage and propaganda and music and maybe some sort of sketchy people, it's a really fun show. We are like, my wife and I have been cooking a lot. We hang out with our dog constantly. She's super into this seemingly new reality where we never leave the house. So that's something. What else am I reading? I don't know, man. We're just throwing ourselves into the work right now. Like, it's been a very strange week, just on a personal level, because I went from being terrified of leaving my home for 3 months to going outside for the first time and being in a crowd and marching and being at a protest. And I forgot how much I missed people, and I forgot how much I missed strangers, and the energy and the inspiration that comes from being at a protest against police brutality and hearing the story personally from someone who's been affected, and how powerful that is and how much that can move you. And being around people, totally diverse backgrounds, coming together to take collective action for a common purpose. In many ways, this week has reminded me why I think a lot of people got into politics in the first place. And it's been inspiring all over again. And it just reminded me how much I miss that feeling and that unity of purpose and being around strangers who all care about the same thing. And I just have to say, like, being on this call tonight is like completely overwhelming that we broke Zoom and have tens of thousands of people on a Thursday night signing up for a training. And you guys are doing a training in a tornado. That feels not ideal. I mean, it's just, someone tweeted at me that she's fighting stage 4 cancer and still signed up to volunteer to adopt North Carolina because it's too important. And I hear stories like that, and it's like, it just tells you everything about the humanity behind this work and how important it is, and how much of a difference it can make. So just thank you all again.
Perfect, thank you. And to that woman, such a privilege to even be on this call. You are doing the hard work. So I will pass it back to Ashley to close us out.
Tommy, thank you so much for doing this. I hope everyone is ready to hit the ground running tomorrow. Maybe not the actual ground, although you may go to a protest, but there are lots of actions in your adopted states that you can take right now, tomorrow, over, I don't even know what date it is, over the weekend. There's so much that you can do, even though it still is sort of early in the election. So I'm sorry that we went over. We maybe broke the whole internet at this point. I don't know, I can't follow it all, but we will make sure to be even more respectful of your time next week. Yes, we will share out the slides. Yes, we will share a link to the recording. We will share all the worksheets if you didn't get them. And don't forget, next week, join us when we talk about organizing, storytelling for organizing with John Favreau. But Latasha, I'm not sure if you're still on because there's so many people, I can't see you, but thank you. Tommy Vietor, thank you so much, everyone, for being here, everyone listening at home, everyone watching at home, thank you so much. And we'll see you next week on Thursday at the same time, whatever it is for your time zone. So thank you guys so much. Have a good night.